The year is 1936. You're in New York City. You just walk your girlfriend home after a date, and you're on your way home yourself. As you walk down a small side street, you hear groaning coming from an alley. You go to check it out. You see a guy laying there, moaning. As you get closer to see what's going on, two ruffians jump out from behind a dumpster. They're armed with blackjacks and switchblades. They want your money, and they don't care how they get it. But fortunately for you, you're carrying your Smith and Wesson Model 10 Snub Nose 38 Special. And you put those guys down. Hi guys, Aaron here with Ghost Raptor Gaming and Guns, and that's right, today we're talking about the Smith and Wesson Model 10 Snub Nose 38 Special. So I'm going to get a couple things out of the way first, and then I'm going to go through this gun as I always do, front to back, top to bottom. So, what's my relationship with Smith and Wesson? Well, I don't have one. This is actually my brother's gun. It's on loan from him. It was the first gun he ever got. It was a gift. He's had it ever since, and he loves it. Now let's talk about the history and some of the other features as we go, because I can't describe them to you when I'm on camera. So, first thing you're going to note about this gun is for a snub nose gun, it's pretty big. You're also probably not going to be able to note this, but this is heavy. This gun weighs 34 ounces, so it's anything but light. However, this did not stop the Smith & Wesson Model 10, or even the Snub Nose in particular, from being very successful guns. Smith & Wesson first introduced the Model 10 in 1899, and they were particularly, or typically at that time, fitted with a 4-inch barrel like this one, or a 6-inch barrel. They entered military service and became very popular with police in a very short amount of time. But unfortunately, the concealed carry market wasn't really that good back then. If you wanted to carry a gun concealed, you either went with a full-size gun like that, or you might have something like this, U.S. Firearms Top Break in 38 Smith & Wesson. These were cheap guns and widely available, but not the best quality. But in 1936, that changed. And you had this Model 10 Snub Nose come out. And it took off like wildfire in the concealed market. It actually, for concealed carriers, took off really well, and actually really caught on as well for police. Detectives and stuff like that began to carry guns like this because, hey, they're not in uniform. A lot of times they're sitting behind a desk or they're on the phone. They don't need that full-size handgun. They just need something to defend themselves like this. So they carry this instead. It's a little more compact. It's a little lighter than the full size. Hey, how can you blame them? Now, has this gun aged well? And does it still have a place in the concealed carry market? We're going to talk about that. So, the best way to do that is to demonstrate its features and compare it to more modern counterparts, such as this Smith & Wesson Model 442 AOA Bodyguard, also in 38 Special. So we'll compare it to some other guns as we go, but this is really designed to be a standalone review, which is why I'm not going to be doing a direct comparison to this full-size Smith & Wesson Model 10. I was going to compare these guns side by side, but I just didn't think it was really fair to the Snub Nose to do that, as one's really a duty gun and one's really a backup or a concealed carry gun. So, without further ado, let's get into the features, and let's see if this thing still is worth its weight. So, it has a standard 2-inch barrel. This particular one, I believe, is modeled after the bull barrel. It's just cut down. It has and this gun is clear, just so you guys know. Not safe because it's a double action revolver with no safety, but it's clear. So this guy has a standard front sight ramp. Let's see if I can get this to come through for you. And a basic kind of rear sight right there. As you can see, it's just kind of a rear notch. And while I have the camera in focus, let's talk about the hammer. The hammer is checkered, has very good texture to it. It is easy to grab, pull back, put down without firing the gun. Very easy. Like I said, this is a single double action gun. And so you can cock the hammer to fire the gun. And by the way, it has about a 4-pound trigger pull. It's kind of nice. Or you can just go double action and pull this back. There's a bit of a staginess right here, no take up, and then it's pretty much smooth the rest of the way back, so almost zero take up, like a 0.5 millimeter here. Then you hit your first stage, then you go back, and it's just smooth the rest of the way. Bam, there's your brake. And reset is all the way out because it's not automatic, it's a double action revolver. The trigger, by the way, is serrated. As you can see, good texturing there. So that aids in your trigger pull. It has a 6-shot blued cylinder. This is chambered again in 38 Smith and Wesson Special, also known as 38 Special. It has a fluted cylinder, and it has this kind of half-length ejector rod. Now, why is that a problem? Well, that's a problem because it's not going to eject your cases if you just tap it with your thumb like this. The cases are longer than the ejector rod. So how do you have to use the ejector rod? With snub nose revolvers, what I like to do is I open the cylinder, and then I kind of cup the gun like this, invert it, and then slap my ejector rod and give it a firm slap, like you're high-fiving a buddy, right? You're not going to be gentle and just barely push this gun down, and you're not going to slap the shit out of it and hurt your hand or bend your rod, which you can on longer ejector rods. Probably not an issue here, but it's possible. Nice firm slap, that should kick your cases out, no problem. Cylinder latch. The cylinder latch is just behind the cylinder on the left side of the gun. It is textured. It is also scalloped, which is to say that it is shaped so that your finger, or I should say your thumb, will fit right into it right there. So you find it very instinctually. It is very easy to actuate, and then just you push it forward and then just pop the cylinder out with your index finger if you need to. Or like I said, when shooting two-handed, roll it out like that with your thumb, slap the ejector rod. Put your rounds in, reload. Now, I didn't test this gun with speed loaders. I don't have one for a Model 10. I don't know why. My brother might have one or two hanging around, but I kind of forgot to ask him about it. So apologies for that. Now, let's talk about the grip. The grip on this one has been replaced. This is a Pachmayr Renegade grip that my brother put on here, and let's talk about why he put that on here, why it's a detractor, and why it's really a benefit. Now, the detractor is it's a bigger grip and it adds a little more weight to the gun, but the benefit of it is it fills your hand much better. It does have these nice finger grooves on it, and it really changes the way you pull the trigger. I think it's much easier to hold as far as getting a purchase on the actual grip, and it really changes that double action trigger pull, which definitely benefited both me and him and anybody else who shot this gun, because the original grips are kind of like the ones on this full-size Model 10. They're a simple wooden grip, and they leave a big space here. So when you hold the gun, your hand kind of rides up over this hump. And that can be kind of a problem. Now, the ones original to the Model 10 Snub Nose are even smaller than the grips on the full size. And so it's really not a great grip for this gun, hence the upgrade. What else is good about this upgrade is that this grip is nice and contoured. It's not that thick, it's nice and rounded in the back, it's far less pointy than the original grip that was on here. And so, as far as concealing goes, due to the revolver's round edges and nice, clean, beautiful lines, it actually helps conceal the gun quite a bit. Now, we mentioned that heavy weight, so let's talk about why that sucks and why it's also awesome. So the weight of this gun might be a bit of a detractor because 34 ounces is kind of heavy. You might not want to lug this gun around all day. Now, when I'm on my property, sometimes I carry a full-size 1911. That's not an issue for me. But some people might not want to carry around a gun quite this big or quite this heavy, particularly in the summertime under light clothing. However, I have been able to carry this gun, again, on my property with an Uncle Mike's pancake holster outside the waistband and just thrown a t-shirt over it, basic white t-shirt, and you can't even tell that I'm carrying this gun. So just because it's a little bigger than a lot of modern revolvers or even some modern automatic handguns doesn't mean you can't conceal this gun and conceal it well. And it doesn't mean that you should discount it for modern concealed carry. Now, the weight also bears one more benefit. If you look at this Smith and Wesson Model 442, I'm not sure exactly on the weight of this gun, but I believe it's less than 20 ounces. It's very light. as it has an aluminum frame. This is also a 38 special. They are both rated for plus P, both the Model 10 and this gun. And due to that lightweight, that particular gun can be unpleasant to shoot, particularly with heavy loads like 158 grain lead semi-wad cutters. However, the additional weight of this Model 10 means that those heavy loads, even if they're plus Ps, are quite pleasant to shoot. In fact, that was one of the big differences between these guns when I was shooting them for testing. Nora said that this gun was a little bit big for her. However, it was very pleasant for her to shoot. She said she could shoot it all day, but the 4.42, being as light as it is, with those heavier loads in particular, once you shoot 15, 25 rounds through them, you're like, I don't really know if I want to keep shooting this gun. That's not a factor on this particular firearm. Very pleasant to shoot. Now, reliability of the gun. Reliability is through the roof on this gun. Obviously, it's a very well-made revolver from a reputable company. I have personally put about 300 or 400 rounds through this, and I believe my brother has put close to 1,000 rounds through it because he shot it more than I have. So it is a very reliable gun. Disassembly, how about disassembly maintenance? Well, it's a double action revolver with a swing out cylinder, so disassembly isn't really a thing. You just kind of open your cylinder, wipe the whole front down, wipe the whole back down, front and cylinder. Maybe you want to hit that with a brass brush on the front and back of the cylinder. Brass brush each chamber and through the barrel. Lubricate it, maybe run a cleaning patch through the cylinders in the barrel, and that's about it for cleaning and maintenance. Now, how does it do for accuracy? Well, let's talk about that. So, I think this is from the wrong gun. Sorry. Oh no, that's from the right gun. I'm sorry, I knew one of these targets was wrong. So this is Nora 7-yard standing, and this is something that I need to talk about. Some people are going to say a snub nose revolver is really a belly buster. And to be fair, it kind of is. Most law enforcement qualification shoots take place at 3, 5, and 7 yards. So what the police consider a typical engagement range is probably a typical self-defense range for a civilian as well. So 7 yards is actually kind of pushing it. Chances are, in a self-defense scenario, you're going to be shooting at 3 to 5 yards. And that's what this gun is really intended for. It is not close personal self-defense firearm. Despite that, I did do my standard protocol of shooting at 7 yards standing with any handgun. Now, it's not going to be as accurate as a lot of different guns. It's not going to be as accurate as, say, the Walther PPK was, or particularly the Burst of Thunder. That gun's really accurate. But, as you can see, still a pretty capable gun. There are a couple groups here. She did circle these to indicate the groups, but also to show that she had a couple flyers. And as you can see, yeah, she did. But there are a couple good groups here. That's a pretty good group right there. That's about a 3-inch group. So are you going to get these like 2-inch, 1-inch groups? Maybe, maybe not. That was with, by the way, my hand loads, 158 grain lead semi-wad cutters that I loaded myself. And then here, these are with reloads from Bullseye Shooting Supplies in Woonsocket, Rhode Island, 158 grain lead round nose. This is me, 7 yards standing, and as you can see, you're gonna get kind of these, I mean, these are pretty good groups from this gun, but chances are you're gonna get like a 3-inch group. Now, that was done single action, and as you can see, my point of aim and my point of impact are different. Obviously, here's my point of aim, here's my point of impact, as you can see. So, that's another thing that you have to consider when getting a snub nose revolver of any kind. It doesn't matter if it's a Taurus, it doesn't matter if it's this Model 10, it's not going to matter if it is this Smith and Wesson Model 4.42. These barrels are short. We're talking 2 to 3 inches, and that's really it. And when you're talking about double action revolvers, particularly double action only revolvers, guys, you really, really got to get that training and really, really practice with the triggers to hit what you're aiming for. That being said, with a little bit of practice, these guns are quite accurate. As you saw, I had a couple 2-inch groups with it, and most of what you're seeing is about a 3, 3.5-inch group. So they are capable but you do really need to practice with them, which is part of the reason why I didn't compare it to this full-size Model 10. Obviously, with this 4-inch barrel, and this action on this one in particular is much smoother than it is on the Snub Nose. But this gun's older and has been shot more, obviously, so the action's a little smoother. With that additional barrel length, that gun's going to be more accurate than this gun. And basically, your Glock 43X, your Burst of Thunder, your Walther PPK, these guns tend to be more accurate than these double action revolvers, particularly these Snub Nose revolvers. It's just the way it is. But if you practice a lot, you can get really good with them. It also has the stopping power of 38 Special plus P, which is nothing to sneeze at. It's about as powerful as 9mm plus P. So any good self-defense loading for 38 Special is going to be just as adequate as your 9mm plus P defensive loadings. So it's a little heavy, but it is very pleasant to shoot. It does have rudimentary sights, however, it's capable of decent accuracy. It's got the stopping power you want and has nice contours to it. And this is what my family would call a gentleman's gun. I mean, you look at this gun and it's just absolutely beautiful. Great bluing job. It is dark and stormy outside, and I can still get the light reflecting through my French doors in the room I record this in. Look at that. Look at that light reflecting off that bluing. Look at that grip. It's just beautiful. It's just a beautiful gun. So this has a whole style of class to it that a modern concealed carry guns just don't have. So if you're into guns like this, these classic kind of firearms, and you want one for self-defense, you can do a hell of a lot worse than the Smith and Wesson Model 10 Snub Nose. How about price? Price is the last thing that I think you should consider, but it is important. Are you going to buy this or a High Point? Well, if you can afford a High Point, you're going to buy a High Point. But you'd probably rather have this, right? So the price on these guys is about $700 to $800 new. They are still being produced by Smith and Wesson in limited numbers, and so that you might say, wow, that's kind of pricey. Well, here's the deal. Because this gun has been in production since 1936, Snub Nose specifically, there's a ton of these on the used market, and you can usually pick them up in decent condition for about $450 to $550, which happens to be about the same price as this Airweight Body Garden 442 in 38 Special. So new gun, about the same price as this used gun, and let's face it, while they're both fairly good looking guns, this one is just kind of in a class of its own, right? So if you can find one of these, I do recommend them. I do think they're cool. Take the weight into consideration. Take the styling into consideration. Take this gun for what it's worth. It's a very good concealed carry option, and I think an underrated one at this point in time due to the modern use and popularity of automatics. Now, if you enjoyed this content, you can always support me, and I hope and pray that you do, on Patreon. Patreon is a subscription service. You sign up, you can find my channel. I'll put a link in the description. $1 a month goes a long way. It helps with a lot of the little things. The ammunition, as you know, the cost is very expensive. Targets, especially, targets are cheap. That Patreon money covers that, no problem. And acquiring some of these different firearms, as well as some of the gaming content, some of the equipment I need for that, games and consoles, controllers, batteries, stuff like that. So if you sign up for Patreon, you'd be doing me a huge favor and really helping me out. This has been Aaron with Ghost Raptor Gaming and Guns. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you. Like, share, and subscribe. Have a great day, you guys.